You've been performing for an audience that left the building years ago. And the worst part? You're still rehearsing. Let me ruin your day in the best possible way. Right now, at this exact second, nobody is thinking about you. Not your coworker who saw you trip on the stairs last Tuesday, not your ex who you're still low-key stalking on Instagram, not your parents who are probably arguing about what to watch on TV, not even your best friend who said, "We should catch up soon" 6 weeks ago, and has since moved on with their entire life. Nobody. And I know what you're thinking. Okay, that's a little dark, but stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you is not a tragedy. It's a jailbreak. Here's the thing about the human brain. It's a narcissism machine, not in the Instagram influencer way, in the deeply biological, evolutionary, survival wired way. Your brain has been running a simulation since you were about 7, and in that simulation, you are the main character, the narrator, the director, and the audience. Psychologists call this the spotlight effect. You walk into a room with a stain on your shirt and you feel like everyone noticed. Spoiler, they didn't. They were too busy worrying about their own stains, metaphorical and literal. A study from Cornell University, actual scientists, actual lab coats, found that people consistently overestimate how much others notice their appearance, their mistakes, and their behavior. By a factor of almost 2. You think twice as many people are watching you as actually are. Which means you've been living your entire life performing for a crowd that was half the size you imagined. The invisible audience problem. Think about the last time you didn't do something because of what people might think. You didn't start the channel, didn't ask for the raise, didn't wear the outfit, say the thing, take the trip, quit the job, start the business. Every single hesitation a tax you paid to an audience that wasn't even watching. There's a concept in psychology called the imaginary audience, first described by David Elkind in 1967. He noticed it in teenagers, that excruciating self-consciousness where you feel like the world is a stage and you're permanently under a spotlight. The problem? Most adults never fully outgrow it. We just get better at hiding the anxiety. You're a grown adult, paying rent, filing taxes, and somewhere in the back of your brain, there's still a 14-year-old terrified of being laughed at in the cafeteria. That 14-year-old has been running your risk assessment department this whole time. Here's the brutal math. The average person has 6,200 thoughts per day. Queen's University, Canada. The vast majority? About themselves. The mental real estate they're dedicating to you is a parking spot in a city of skyscrapers. You're not living rent-free in anyone's head. You're not even living there at a discount. The paradox of caring. Here's where it gets philosophically weird. The people who care most about what others think are often the least interesting to others. The people who genuinely stop caring, they become magnetic, impossible to ignore. Why? Because authenticity is the rarest currency in a world full of performance. Think about the people you find most compelling. They share one trait. They stopped editing themselves for external approval. They said the uncomfortable thing, made the weird art, built the strange business. Steve Jobs was abrasive and completely uninterested in being liked. He was interested in being right. Frida Kahlo painted her pain in ways that made people uncomfortable and became one of the most celebrated artists in history. Every comedian you love has a story about the moment they stopped performing for the crowd and started being honest about their own darkness. The formula is counterintuitive. The less you need people to care, the more they actually do. But here's the nuance this idea always misses. Pay attention. Nobody cares doesn't mean nobody matters. Your real people, the ones who show up at 2 a.m., who remember the specific thing you said 3 years ago, who check in without a reason, they exist. They're just rare. And they don't need you to perform. They prefer the unedited version. The problem isn't that nobody cares. It's that you've been trying to earn care from people who were never going to give it while ignoring the people who already do. Let's continue with the neuroscience of liberation.
Here's what actually happens in your brain when you stop seeking external validation. The ventral striatum, your brain's reward center, releases dopamine when you get social approval. A like, a compliment, someone laughing at your joke. Same chemical as sugar, gambling, cocaine. Your brain literally cannot tell the difference between a slot machine and a notification. This is why social media is built the way it is. Variable reward schedules, unpredictable validation. The same mechanism that makes gambling addictive makes approval-seeking addictive. And like any addiction, the more you feed it, the more you need. 100 likes felt amazing. Now you need 1,000 to feel okay. When you break that cycle, something neurologically interesting happens. Your prefrontal cortex, long-term decision-making, identity, gets louder. You start choosing based on your actual values instead of your anxiety about perception. Psychologists call this shifting from an external locus of control to an internal one. The research is unambiguous. Internal locus equals more resilient, more successful, higher life satisfaction, and, here's the kicker, better at maintaining real relationships. Because when you stop needing validation, you can actually see people clearly. You stop projecting. You stop keeping score. You just show up. The identity surgery. Here's the part nobody talks about because it's uncomfortable. Letting go of an identity built around others' approval isn't a mindset shift. It's a kind of death. The you that rehearsed conversations in the shower, replayed embarrassing moments at 3 a.m., shrunk itself to fit into rooms, that version has to go. Grief is a rational response to that. You might lose relationships, not because you became worse, but because some relationships were only sustainable while you were performing. When you stop, some people don't know what to do with the real you. That's information. You might lose your compass temporarily. When approval has been your navigation system, removing it is disorienting. You'll have to learn to navigate by something internal, your actual values, your actual energy. And you'll lose the comfortable excuse, I can't because people will judge me. When you accept nobody's watching that closely, the excuse disappears. Now you face the real question. What are you actually afraid of? The practical revolution. What does this look like in practice? Because I'm not here to give you a motivational speech that evaporates by Tuesday. Audit your decisions. For 1 week, before every choice, ask, am I doing this because I want to or because of how it looks? You'll be disturbed by the ratio. Do one avoided thing per week. Not reckless, real. Post it, start it, say it. The first time is terrifying. The 5th time, you'll wonder what you were afraid of. Find your actual audience, the real people who respond to the real you. They're the ones who liked the weird thing, laughed at the joke nobody else got, said, I've never heard anyone say that like it was a compliment. Practice self-disclosure without apology. Share something true without softening it or qualifying it. The people who respond well are your people. The ones who don't, also useful information. Stop waiting for permission, not from your parents, your boss, your past self, or the 14-year-old still sitting in that cafeteria. That permission is never coming. It was never theirs to give. Here's the beautiful, terrifying, liberating truth. You are the only person who has to live your life. Not your parents with their unlived dreams, not your friends lost in their own confusion, not the internet which forgets you by tomorrow, just you. The life you keep postponing, the version of yourself you keep almost becoming, that's entirely on you. Not punishing, clarifying. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is watching closely enough to stop you. The day you understand that, not intellectually, but in your bones, that's the day everything changes. Not because the world changed, because you stopped waiting for it to. Now go do the thing.